Sometimes, the work is so, you try to be true. You feel sometimes it's on the verge of a kind of craziness, but it isn't really craziness. It's really getting the truest part of yourself out, and it's very hard, I mean, it's not easy, let's say. And yet it can be very simple at the same time.
Welcome back to Musings with Mary. This is Mary Muse, your host, and today we're going to be talking about the Strength card within the tarot deck. The Strength card is the card that represents Leo energy. We're still in Leo season for about a week more, so I'm not technically late. I do want to let you guys know that I am going to continue talking about the tarot card for each of the sun season zodiacs. I will no longer be doing the love letter series for right now, just so that I have time and space to make episodes about other things, because I have a lot of stuff I want to talk about with you guys. So thank you for understanding. We'll still get our, monthly dose of astrology stuff. It'll just be in the form of these little tarot card episodes, because I love the intersection between the two. And I think it's really cool and really powerful for us to spend more time making those connections within the deck. And those connections don't only exist within the major arcana. There also are lots of correspondences for lots of different astrology placements within the tarot deck, within the minor arcana. If that's something that you're interested in, that is something that I do cover within That Witch School. Each month, I make an informational post about the card of the month, which is centered around our zodiac signs. So there's that for you if you're interested in it. Today, I'm just going to be talking about the Strength card, its meanings from a couple different sources, and then I'm going to be diving into the symbols with you guys and giving you my take on what the Strength card means to me. As always, if you've heard my other episodes about these tarot cards, I think it's really important to stress that tarot cards do have traditional meanings, but I think that they can go a lot deeper. And if we're not using our tarot cards more deeply than the traditional meanings, we're losing out on a lot of connections that we could be making within our spiritual practice. So I want to encourage you guys to really sit with these cards and create your own personal relationship with them, because there's a lot of power within that. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. So the Strength card is the 8th card of the Major Arcana deck, number 8. And again, it is represented by the energy of Leo. It's pretty apparent if you look at the Rider-Waite-Smith card. It appears to be an afternoon, like a sunny day. The background is yellow. There's a woman in white with a flower crown and an infinity symbol above her head, and a lion looking up to her. The woman is bent down with her hands gently on the lion's mouth. The lion's tongue is out. He's looking kind of silly, to be honest. It's very sweet. It's a very calm kind of looking card, but it's this lion and this woman. The lion obviously having connotations to Leo energy, right? So there's a lot of ways we can look at the symbolism of this card, but first I want to give you guys a couple definitions from some of my favorite tarot resources. First, I'm going to start with Biddy Tarot, Biddy. It's a really nice website with really thoughtful descriptions of the cards. I actually believe that the person that I learned tarot from, Bahati Life, Jess Alexandria, had a part in writing some of these descriptions. So I really love the way that they cover the meanings of all these cards. All right. So for the Strength card on Biddy Tarot, they say, the Strength card represents strength, determination, and power, like the Chariot. However, while the Chariot signifies outer strength and will, The Strength card speaks to the inner strength and the human spirit's ability to overcome any obstacle. Strength is about knowing you can endure life's obstacles. You have great stamina and persistence, balanced with underlying patience and inner calm. You are committed to what you need to do, and you go about it in a way that shows your composure and maturity. When the Strength card appears in a reading, you are fueled by your inner strength, personal power, strong will, and determination. You do not rule by trying to control others. You quietly influence and persuade. Others may underestimate your power because it is so invisible, but you should see that as an advantage. You can control a situation without excessive outward force. No one knows it's you calling the shots. Very, very interesting. It goes on for a couple more paragraphs. If you're interested in seeing what the full meaning of this card is, according to Biddy Tarot, then I will leave the link in the show notes. The other website I really like to use is Labyrinthos. That is spelled Labyrynthos. Labyrinthos has more of a straightforward definition. They give you what the card means whenever it comes up for you in your own readings. So this is what they say. When you get the Strength card in an upright manner during your tarot reading, then it shows that you have inner strength and fortitude during moments of danger and distress. It shows that you have the ability to remain calm and strong even when your life is going through immense struggle. It also shows that you are a compassionate person and you always have time for other people, even if it's at your own expense. So you see the vibe, right? This card is not about the force behind strength. It's about the tact. It's about the patience that it requires to be a good leader. When we think of Leo, we do think of leaders, right? Leos are a fire sign. They have fixed energy, which means that they are determined and very, passionate and willful. If a fixed sign wants to get something done, they're going to get it done. But they also understand, fixed signs do understand that that change and progress takes time. And that's a big reminder behind this card, right? It's about not taking the easy way out of using force to make people do certain things, but using your wisdom to change people's minds so that you don't have to use force, because force is the easy way to manipulate others, right? It requires more intelligence to change people without the use of force, or to change outcomes or situations without the use of force. But it also creates less conflict, and it is more likely to create more lasting change that's filled with more harmony. Because when you can get everybody on the same page, when you can use communication and use your leadership in a way that lets people know they're safe and protected, that they are not in trouble, that we are all working together, it always works out for the better, right? And I think we all understand how that works, right? But we do get a lot of messaging around strength being this. A lot of the time it's like this. When people think of a strong person, they think of someone that like never cries or never shows emotions. But this card is really telling us that the strongest person is the person that is in touch with their emotions, that understands that not only do they have their own emotions, but the people around them do as well. And it's important for all of us to not ignore the ways that we feel in moments of conflict. Because when we do that, we're more likely to make disempowered choices that create more disharmony. It takes courage to rely on your inner strength instead of your outer strength. In That Witch School, I chose to describe this type of strength as a quiet power. because I think we're very used to seeing loud power that likes to shout about how powerful it is. But quiet power is so much different, and quiet power makes you feel safe. Loud power makes us feel insecure. Quiet power makes us feel safe and protected. And that is what this card is about. I want to jump into talking about some of the symbols that we see here because, as you know, the artist of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, Pamela Coleman Smith, was very intentional about this artwork. So we can look at these symbols and find deeper meanings within them. First, we'll look at the woman. So I would invite you to pull up this image if you can. Look for RWS Strength card, and you'll see this woman is pictured in white. She's not just in white. She is draped in flowers. It looks like roses. And she's got this flower crown on her head. And above her head, she has the infinity symbol. There's already three things to talk about right there. So we've got the white dress, white always representing this like pure energy, purity of heart, representing wisdom as well. The roses that are draped around her dress can represent this energy of passion and compassion and love. Similar to the Empress, many people do say that this woman in white is an homage to the Empress in a lot of ways because she has this quiet, compassionate type of energy towards this lion. The crown is, again, like that energy of the Empress. It brings us back to that queen-like energy, but this is a softer energy. She's not so much the ruler of a country, but she is the ruler of her own environment, right? She is able to affect her own environment, whatever that may be. In this case, there's a lion. She's a lion tamer. That is what I decided to call her in that witch school because it just makes sense. She is a lion tamer. She's obviously able to communicate with this lion in a way that tames its wild nature. So then we see this infinity symbol above her head. And if you are familiar with the tarot, you'll remember that the magician also has this infinity symbol above his head. I loved looking into this. I just found this out as I was doing research for our last tarot circle in that witch school. I found out this parallel between these two cards, and I love the way that it was described on a website called Tarot Merchant. TarotMerchant.com has a lovely resource where they point out different symbols within tarot cards and what they represent. So within this website, they talk about how this infinity symbol above the woman in white's head is an homage to the magician, but her abilities are different than the magician's in a key way. When we get the magician card, it's about manifestation. It's about bringing things into life, okay? It's about creating something within the physical realm, taking it from the spiritual or the whatever, the ethereal realm, taking it from thought, from conception into its birth, right? Creating it in real life. This infinity symbol representing this woman in white's power, just as it represents the magician's power, infinite power, universal power. For the woman in white, this represents the power to stop things from being created, stop situations, stop conflict, stop events from happening. Because she uses her wisdom and her quiet power or her inner strength to diffuse situations. So instead of like making things happen and creating things within reality, this is about stopping things from happening and stopping things from being created. This is about a reversal of conflicted energy, which I think is so cool, really cool to think about it in that way. Something that also blew my mind on Tarot Merchant is the way that the woman and the lion are positioned and how it could be seen as a representation of the spiral imagery of the yin and yang symbol. If you're not, I'm sure you're familiar with the yin yang. It is, the circular symbol that has an equal amount of white and black on each side with a little black and white dot within each respective side. And it represents the harmony between duality, right? So it is technically that feminine and masculine energy. But we can also see it as all kinds of different things. You can see it as right brain, left brain. You can see it as active and passive. However you want to look at it and however it makes sense to you works for me. So pick whatever makes sense. But there's this aspect of this harmony, this yin yang energy, this balanced energy between these two figures, representing the harmony between them. So it's not necessarily about representing the like masculine versus the feminine energy of it, but it is the energy of those two things working in harmony and being balanced. Then, of course, we have the lion representing Leo energy. I think of this as our inner Leo. So if we can see the woman as our higher self and the lion as our inner Leo energy, this is about us working with and balancing the energies of Leo within us. Because each of the zodiac signs have, they're typically positive and negative traits, right? And I say positive and negative with air quotes, right? But we want to be able to really, shift into the most evolved form of these signs as we can throughout our lifetime, right? We want to become the most evolved form that has the most wisdom, because there's a lot of wisdom to be gained from each and every sign in different ways. For Leo, the wisdom that we gain from Leo is the strength of character, the ability to shine without shame, and the understanding that there is enough sunshine for all of us. Leo is, I would say, if Gemini is seen as like the social butterfly, I would say that Leo is also up there, right? Leo knows how to show up and show out. And we can all learn a little bit from Leo about that, right? And finally, I want to mention the number for this card again. So we have the number 8 representing the strength card. And the number 8 in the tarot deck represents transition, transformation, metamorphosis. It is the period of preparing to transform. So something I really love to do, and I like to recommend to all of my tarot students, is to look at the numbers across the deck when you're working with a major arcana card. If you are sitting and intentionally working with a major arcana card, take a look at the cards that share that number. This can be a really interesting way to look deeper in at these cards. And so I encourage you to try that out. And if you do, and if you're one of our That Witch School members, hit me up and let me know what you notice. I would love to talk to you about it. So now that I've talked your ear off about all of the symbols present in this card, I want to talk about my personal thoughts on this card as I've sat with it over this last month since our last tarot circle, and give you my little Leo strength card sermon. Leo energy is a very interesting energy for me because I don't have any really strong planetary placements there. I do have one asteroid there, and that asteroid is Chiron. And if you know anything about Chiron, you know that that's not such a great placement to have. So everybody has a Chiron placement. Mine is in Leo, so that just means that I struggle with Leo energy. I'll put it at that. And yet, Leo energy is a huge part of my life. Leo energy can often represent people that love to be in the spotlight, right? People that are artistic, people that have creative talents. The house that Leo represents does represent those things, as well as passion and sexuality. and the ways that we express ourselves, self-expression. If you know me, I am incredibly self-expressive. I am incredibly creative. As a person, I have so many different creative outlets and interests, and yet I have a bit of a struggle with Leo energy because of this Chiron placement there. When I say bit of a struggle, I mean it affects a lot of things in my life. And so Leo energy is something that I really intentionally actually try to work with in a healing manner. I do a lot of my shadow work around Leo energy. A lot of my shadow work and a lot of my light work, I'll say. A lot of my inner child work is done around my Leo Chiron and Leo energy in general. And so this strength card is an important card for me because when our Leo energy is unbalanced, it can create a person that is reactive and a bit of a bully. And I definitely experienced that myself. So it's important for Leo to know how to direct that strength that they have because, hell yeah, Leos are strong as hell in all the ways. But when a Leo is unbalanced, that strength can definitely be used in harmful ways, right? As it would be in any person's hands, right? And we've surely seen the destruction of this type of forceful strength in our world. So God knows that we need more of this quiet inner strength. So I really love when I get this card because it reminds me that, okay, I need to dig deep and I need to look inside to see where I'm experiencing fear. That's actually what I think of when I look at this card is, oh, I need to have strength. I need to show courage. I need to be strong. What am I afraid of? What am I needing? What is preventing me from feeling strong and from feeling confident in my ability to navigate a situation? What is the fear at the core of that? I think that can be very powerful for us to ask ourselves. And it can be powerful for us to just witness within ourselves as well, because I've said this before on the podcast, I think, but courage doesn't exist without fear. So we have to acknowledge that we have fear in order to decide to have courage, right? So that's the prompt that I get inside of my heart whenever I see this card is, okay, it's time to be strong. How does that make me feel? And the other half of this card is about how do I make other people feel? Because this is about this woman balancing her energy with this lion, right? And if we know anything about animals, we know that they can feel our energy, correct? I would venture to say that humans are the same. I believe we are animals, right? We technically are. And we feel energy. The people around us feel our energy. They also, react to the ways in which we act, right? So it's not just about our energy, but the decisions that we make and the ways that we show up and how people come to know us, right? If we're a person that's very reactive and flies off the handle and doesn't listen and does whatever they want and forces other people to just go along the ride, are they going to see you as strong? Probably not. They're going to see you as pushy. They're going to see you as someone that they can't be honest around. And instead of that, we want to be a person that is less reactive, someone that has compassion for other people in in situations of conflict, because we're all just human, right? We're all doing our best. And if we can all take that moment to pause and check in with our inner strength, check in with the fear we might be feeling in a given situation, and make the choice to not react in anger, but to react with patience and love, then any given situation that we're in is going to be better for it, right? And the people around us will react much better to that. Sometimes they might not, sometimes they might not. If people are not used to experiencing kindness, sometimes they might react differently to you. But the only way that we can create a more kind world is through exposure therapy. The more kindness that you experience, the more kindness that you are able to spread, the more kindness that will continue to be spread, because it is contagious. And so this quiet strength actually feeds into others. And I think that's another really great quality of Leo, is that Leo is this very attractive sign. And I mean that in all the ways, but I mean that in a way that others want to be like them. Others want to have their energy because they are sun ruled, right? They have that sun energy, which everybody can gain a little confidence and a little boost of energy from. So whenever you see someone having this quiet strength, when you see someone standing up for what's right and being kind and compassionate as they do it, it makes you more likely to do the same. Because we understand the power of that, right? And I say we, meaning all of us here, you and me and all the lovely people listening to this. And I think right now we're living in a world that is really asking us to consider what it means to be strong. As people are being separated from their families and daily life becomes more and more enveloped by absolutely insane headlines, and life really is just feeling like an episode of Black Mirror. As this continues to happen, and as we find ourselves closer and closer to some of the biggest conflict we've seen in this era, we'll say, it is time for all of us to consider what we need to do in order to cultivate strength, in order to cultivate inner strength, outer strength as well. I mean, you might want to start working out, guys. I think it's a good idea to get a little strong. You want to be able to protect yourself. If I'm being so real, sorry. But it's also very important for us to consider the ways in which we can have strength of character so that others around us feel safe and protected. And to stand up, even when we have that fear, to stand up for what is right in a way that shows our compassion. So it might not be you getting in physical altercations or yelling at protests, but it might be you volunteering in your neighborhoods or giving your time and resources or spreading the news. It's important. It is important for us to cultivate this. So I hope that this energy of the strength card really finds you for the end of this Leo season. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope that you resonated with the message of this strength card, because it is a really powerful one to work with. And you don't have to just work with it during Leo season. You can work with any card intentionally at any time. So whether you're listening to this during Leo season or later on, I really encourage you to sit with this one, because it is good for us to consider. And you have more strength than you know. I know that for a fact. I believe in y'all. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have the best rest of your day. See you in the next one. You can visit xoxo.com to see all of Mary's links. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all your favorite listening platforms. And if you feel inclined, leave a 5-star review for us. Musings with Mary is listener sponsored, so if you'd like to support the podcast, please check out our Patreon. Shout out to all our current patrons. Thank you so much for the support. We'll see you in the next episode.